2023 Diamond in the Rough Olympic Triathlon, a classic. So this is coming up in a couple weeks. We are going to go through the athlete guide here. It has been posted, at least that has been not updated, and they have just, erased the dates on it. So here's the schedule of events as usual. Again, this is in the athlete guide. This is page number 2. Friday, you do have the option to get your packet pickup, and Saturday, which is race day, you have a list of time-stamped events. Now, transition does open at 5:30, and packet pickup, body marking, and chip pickup all happen from then to 7 as well, with the pre-race meeting happening at 7:10. Transition area closes at 7:20, so that is your kind of window to get everything set. Race start for that Olympic is 7:30 a.m., and it is a time trial start. Cautious swimmers rejoice. This is a tough swim course. There was a bit of a current in there, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Bike course closes 10:30, and the awards are at 11:15 thereafter. Now, scrolling down here on page 3, there is parking and race site layout here listed for you. There is the race site address, which you can punch it into your GPS, and that is on page 3. Packet pickup and athlete check-in on page 4. They talk about what is required, like a photo ID, and your questions. Bring them. As many questions as you can ask them before. Calm the nerves, and we're going to do our best to help you out here as well. So they talk about special notes, bib numbers will be assigned, and timing tips distributed at packet pickup. Make sure you don't lose either. You got to pick up your own one, and you can change your race categories if you need to at packet pickup. Rolling down here, 10 things to know about race day. It's page 5. Course cutoff times is on page 6, and there is also transition area information also on page 6. Just like bike racking is first come, first serve on this race. That is a very key piece of information. So the earlier you get there, the better racking position you can get. Okay, it is a 10-foot section, each of them holding 6 bikes, which is 3 per side. Scrolling down page 7, your race numbers information on where to put them and where to wear your timing chip on their left ankle is on page 7, along with body marking. Aid stations here on the Olympic, there are none on the bike course, so you're going to need to bring your own hydration, your fuel, and on the run course there is approximately every 1 to 1.5 miles on that run course with water and Gatorade. Results are going to be posted online following here, or you can use this QR code. Page 9 lists some USAT penalties. This is a USAT race. Make sure you click on some of these links to get yourself familiar with some of those rules before race day. Page 10 are the wetsuit rules for the USAT. You can read them there, and also the water temperature. They will post those like 48 hours ahead of time, and it is usually posted on their Facebook page and also their website as periodically updated from past events in the summer. That's what they are going to continue to do probably. Just check their Facebook page if you aren't a member already. Swim course information here, start finish right here is going to be listed on page 13 here. It is a 2-loop swim course. Sprint is a 1-loop course, so if you are doing the Olympic, make sure you are doing 2, and this has a bit of a unique swim course, which we'll talk about later on. Bike course listed on page 14. It is posted on their website here, and we're going to talk about some specific things there. The Olympic and sprint bike courses split at 1.5 miles. The Olympic's going to stay to the left, and the sprint course is going to go to the right. It will be marked with yellow duct tape arrows and yellow directional signals at all turns with mileage signs in 5-mile increments. So you should be able to tick those off at 5 mile at a time, 5, 10, 15, 20. The Olympic distance bike has a couple of sharp turns, mile 14 and 22 especially. Know the course and ride under your control is what they say, and I totally agree, and we were going to be talking about that in greater detail in a couple of minutes. Run course on page 15. There is a map here. It is a 2-loop. The Olympic race is a 2-loop with a turnaround at 100 meters past the sprint turnaround. So let's talk about the courses, and the first up is the swim here. This is an in-water start, which you are going to start at that blue dot right there, and you are going to do this course in a clockwise fashion on race day. And since we are doing the Olympic, we are going to have something unique that is going to happen here. This is an Olympic merge for our second lap. So you should swim this in this line. Do not swim this over by the sighting buoys and then crossing over again. Make sure that once you start that second loop, you cut off this as much as possible, because out on race day they specifically mention it that you only have to go around the turn buoys out on course. So those three buoys, those three triangle buoys that I highlighted there. But back to the beginning of the race, this first corner is going to be hot. Everyone's trying to get there. It is a time trial start, and I don't care about that. There's going to be people all around this corner on lap 1. This is going to be a highly contested corner. If you are a stronger swimmer, don't be afraid to mix in with the battle right there. The closer you get, the more ferocious it's going to get. Then you have a little less than a 90-degree turn. Don't overthink it. It's a right-hand turn. Turn right, start swimming sight, probably 3, 4, 10 strokes after you make that turn here, because you have another turn happening right here, and it comes faster than you think. If you are swimming in a pack, sometimes those pack dynamics can help you go to that second turn buoy a little bit easier, because everyone is sighting, so you don't really have to. If you think that the group is veering off track, you might want to find that buoy yourself. But most of the time, if you're in a group of 5 to 10 people, chances are 1 or 2 of them definitely have the turn buoy in their sights. So those first couple of strokes are not super essential, but the closer you get there, it becomes more and more crucial to be on track to that second turn buoy. Since this is a unique course, that second turn buoy here is going to have a lot of energy with it as well, and it is going to be at this point in time that things start to calm down here. The athletes that get through this second turn cleanly, or just with less effort here, are going to be the ones that set themselves up for success on this race course. After you get past this second turn here, things do calm down a bit, and it is going to be the first major key to the course section right through here. This one straightaway, you should start swimming your pace here. If you find that you are kind of losing the gaps here, you're starting to lose people, then we're going to have to make some alterations, and these next 2 sections are going to be another big key area. So this area around course, 3 sides of our rectangle are going to be very, very big on race day. This is going to be your pace. This is going to be the speed that you've trained for. The race that you're targeting is going to happen right through there. If you find that you get to this corner right here on the first loop, and you're coming at this very, very hot, you're overpaced, you are flying at this point, you need to back things down and kind of start to swim your race, because you need to save a lot of stuff for the bike here. If you arrive at this part of our course after that first loop, this section, again, as we talked about, you want to make that straightest line as possible to that turn buoy right over here, that first turn on the first. Here, I'll highlight it to make it a little more clear. Sorry about that. Once we get to this corner out on race day, then things change a little bit. Okay, I talked about those 3 sides being our race pace, but this is our first real opportunity that we can increase the pace a bit if we need to, and even here, believe it or not, on a course like this. This is a great opportunity to kick your feet a little bit more, starting right around here or even back here for our second loop. Okay, not the first one, the second one. But once we get to this buoy right here, we do have to kind of shut things down and recover. And if you arrive on this second turn on the second loop and you think that, you're just not going to be able to hold that pace, don't be afraid to let some people go a little bit and kind of get some additional recovery and come out of the water 10, 15, even 30 seconds behind them on the bike. I'm not super concerned about it. There is you have USAT rules here, so we're not allowed to draft anyways. The last big thing that we need to mention on the swim is there's typically a current. Sometimes it goes this way, sometimes it goes this way. You're going to have to evaluate that on race morning when you are waiting at the docks to start right there. See what the water's doing, read the water, read what people are doing in front of you if you aren't one of the front runners that get released early. See what's happening on race day. And you'll be amazed at how much you can find out just watching the water right at the coast here. You don't really need to view it all the way out here necessarily, and the water will tell you what's going on if you listen to it. Scrolling down to the bike course here, again, this is one of my favorite courses. This is a one-loop course, and there is a bunch of areas that are a little bit dangerous here. The sharp turn, they specifically mention it in 2 areas right through there. So make sure you are aware of what is happening. They say it is a technical bike course, and they do not disappoint. This is our bike course here in all of its glory. And you can see there is a ton of turns mixed in on this course. I was about to say each loop, but this is a one loop course here where you have the first couple of miles, the first, let's call it 3-ish miles that are relatively flat. You do have a lot of turns mixed into there, so the athlete that is able to get away from people here is going to be the one that usually handles those corners a little bit better. If you are out in front a little bit more, you're going to have a little more room to use all of the road here. And that's another big key here when you are traveling on some of these sharper turns. If there's no one around you, you don't necessarily need to hug that right side of the road. If it's a right-hand turn, make sure you're veering off to the left-hand side before you go back and use the apex of that corner to really use the road and keep your speed high through some of those turns. If you are around other people, you're going to have to manage that a little bit more, and you obviously can't slide over on people like that in those turns, so you have to control your bike a little bit more. So if you do have some cleaner road, that's going to be much more beneficial to you, because if you can keep your speeds up in the corners, that is going to be very beneficial for you. Next up, we need to talk about the obvious elephant in the room. At this point in time, we have from mile 3.5 to 8.6 out on course, and if you're following the orange dot that's traveling around here, you'll be able to see what's going on. Once we make this right-hand turn here, then it goes up, it goes up, it goes up. We have about 4 or 5 percenters. There's going to be a couple of times where we have over that, but not a lot, right? So it is very rideable. It's not like a mountain, right? But it is tough enough to take a little bit of a sting out of you. And unfortunately, on a course like this, you just have to get the gas on this one. And you got to be doing it in control. Think sweet spot efforts during this point in time. And you just kind of have to turn the screws on, and you can't let people fly by, because after this, much of the elevation is gone. So we have a 1260 elevation. And in this course here, we have 500 feet eaten up before we even get to mile 9 here. So we have a load of time left, and we have another big chunk of elevation that happens right at this point in time, and that's 340. So coupled together, we have about 800 feet of our 1200 mixed in through there. And if we highlight some of this later portions, like these up downs mixed in later on, then that will get the remainder of the elevation. So the bulk of it is coming in 2 spots from 3 to 9 miles, and then again from 19.7 back up to 21.5 there. Again, you're going to have elevation mixed in throughout the other areas, but those are 2 key areas that you need to have your foot on the gas while staying in control. This downhill section out on course, after we get past this major uphill, right? Again, remember, it's a point in time where the speed needs to be high but in control. If you find yourself consistently chasing some of those higher numbers and you are unable to get there, don't worry about it, okay? If you're going 26, 27 miles an hour and you're trying to chase that 30 miles an hour and you're just eating up a lot of watts and eating up your heart rate and you're seeing it continuously rise, that's not what you want here. All right, you want to arrive at the bottom of this area ready to work, because we have a major flat section right through here. And if we follow the orange dot on course, you'll see that's at the top of our course right through here. We're going to make another U-turn left-hander, and then we have a big flat section right through here. So over this point, we have about a 6-mile radius of course, where we only have 100 feet of elevation gain, and much of that is coming from this area right through here, and then it's mixed in, scattered throughout the bottom over there. That's going to be where some of this wind and everything's kind of mixed in out on course. But this area, bottom line is, it needs to be high. It needs to be high speed at this area. So you have, if we highlight the major portion of course, this area should be about 11 miles of fast-paced riding. And unfortunately, right, if we go back to some of this stuff, you can see that there are some sharper turns mixed in here out on course. So you got to be careful and you got to be aware, but the speed has to be on. That's why it is a technical fast favorite of a lot of people. Now, the suckers play in a course like this is going to be trying to chase those higher numbers right through here. And again, don't get me wrong, you have to have a rate of high speed throughout this area for sure. Absolutely right through here. But again, if you are really, really forcing it and you're not able to get up there, ride your speed, your limit, your power numbers here. If you don't, you're going to pay a heavy price later on. So just be careful right through there. And afterwards, we have another big key to the course, which is right through here. This is going to be another point where you can get a lot of ground on people and you can actually make up some solid seconds here. And this is going to be one of the last big places to do so before the transition area. And I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to attempt to highlight this last major section right here, because this is an area where athletes usually pop up, right? These hills, and then right when they get to, let's call it 22 miles, they really turn off the gas and they just kind of coast in here. And unfortunately, you just don't have that. This is another area where speed needs to be high, but in control. But keep that speed high as best as possible, okay? Because afterwards we have a run, right? But if you are 22 miles in and you are coasting in for the rest of this ride, that's a good chunk of time for you to just be kind of cruising. After you get to mile 25-ish, then yeah, you can kind of slowly start to turn it off a little bit, but you still need to be working a bit, and that speed needs to be high coming back into the park. There are another sharp group of turns after you cross under 40, so just be very, very careful doing that. Now, this is the sprint course. This is the run course right here, the run Olympic course here. Two-loop course here. You're going to run from the park. You're going to run all the way out and back. You're going to do that 2 times. This is a better grouping of it right here. When you can see we have a whopping 117 feet of gain, so you are definitely limited by yourself and the effort that you placed on yourself on the bike. If we zoom in here in satellite mode here and we zoom in along this run course, you'll see a couple of things. You'll see a couple of trees mixed in here. And as we get closer up, you see we do run under some trees, so there are some shaded opportunities here. But after you get through that, then this whole portion right through here is unshaded. So you're going to be highly open to the elements out on race day, so be aware of that. This is typically a hotter race. This is a race where you have a lot of overheated athletes, so make sure you are using some of these aid stations, and again, make sure you identify where they are on race day when you do check in. One of the questions you should always ask: where's the aid stations? Where are they located? Is there a map? I can see them. I know they're labeled off as every mile, mile and a half. But in reality, they might not always be there. So typically what happens is they put an aid station before the sprint turnaround so the sprint athletes can get it, and also the Olympic athletes can get it as well. If you can hit it on the way back, that would be even better. This is going to be a great opportunity for you to practice your cooling strategies and also your fast abilities on the run. Because it is a flatter course here, you can kind of open up a little bit more on the bike. But again, I say that in quotations because if you overdo it, you're going to pay the price later on. You're limited by you on this run course and what you have done preceding this, okay? The run should be fast. It's not going to be an easier run. It's a flatter run, so you're not going to have any major downhill opportunities. There are going to be some scattered in there, but they're not going to last for very long, and you're going to be in the sun if it is a sunny day. So make sure that you are aware of what's happening there and have a blast. This is one of my favorite courses of all time. Good luck, everybody.